You should be adapting your system to your life. Oh, I only use this one once a month, so I can't put this in my system. Take a shot every time I say organic. I'm almost 30. I would have eaten that cookie. And by constantly, I don't mean that you have to use these every day. Hi, hello, it's 𝚗𝚐𝚘, and you guys really enjoyed my journal ecosystem video, so I thought it'd be great to give you guys some tips on how to build your own ecosystem, what an ecosystem is, and all of those things. As always, if you were trying to get into journaling, I actually have a how-to series. I don't know if the eye still does that thing where if it like pops up a playlist or something. If it does, I will link it up here, but if not, you can go into the comment section or wait to the end of the video for the end credits and it will be linked there too. So if you see me looking down, it's because I have notes, because y'all know I will go on 100 tangents and get off a point, so I need to look at this down here. So this first part is going to be kind of an understanding of what a journal ecosystem is, because one thing I see a lot of people ask when people do these videos on YouTube, TikTok, anywhere, is a lot of people don't know what it is. And it does feel like a word that kind of came out of random, but it's honestly very simple, and I will explain it right now. I'm going to give you the textbook definition of a journal, a system, and an ecosystem, okay? We're going to break it down. We're really going to break it down, okay? We're going to put my Miss Taylor teacher cap on. I'm not a teacher, but y'all get it. A journal is a record of what you have done or of descriptions or thoughts written each day or frequently over a long period of time, or a diary. A system is a set of things working together as parts of a mechanism or an interconnecting network. And an ecosystem has two different definitions, where the biological one is a biological community of interacting organisms and their physical environment. It could also mean a complex network or interconnected system. We're also going to talk about some preconceived notions I feel like happens when journaling comes into practice and when people talk about wanting to get into journaling. Number one, I feel like a really big problem with journaling in itself is social media. And social media does two things. Just in any general shape or form, no matter what it is, it does two things. It either, number one, it creates random rules that no one's ever heard of, like you can't wear this, you can't wear that, you can't wear polka dots and stripes, you can't do this, you can't do that. And it's always just ridiculous. Like, you need this, you need that to journal. And the second thing social media does is gatekeep, and they'll gatekeep the most random things. They'll like gatekeep random Nike shoes that you can get from a Nike outlet store, and it makes no sense. And I say all that to say is that a lot of times social media can really push us to try new things, but along with trying new things, we have these preconceived notions that doing these hobbies, that doing these practices has some type of system, some type of rule, some type of goals you have to have. When in actuality, it's way simpler than you think. You don't have to work on them every single day. You don't have to have 8 notebooks, 6 notebooks, 3 notebooks, 2 notebooks, 1 notebook. Well, you do need at least 1 notebook, but you don't need a specific amount of notebooks to have a system. It's all dependent on you. All a journal system is a collection of journals that makes your life simpler, your journal system simpler. Everything just comes together to make life a little bit easier, to make you a little bit more organized, to get out those feelings, to get some creativity out. That is all a journal system is. It is a collection of journals in this little network from your mind. That is it. So this is going to be broken up into a couple of parts where I will talk about people who already have journals and are just working towards getting them into a system, versus people who want to get into journaling and have not journaled and also want to start a system. So the first tip is to, if you are already into journaling, start with journals you already have. So the best way to kind of get into a journaling system of any kind, and in my opinion, any type of habit, is to work with things you already have organically. Don't all of a sudden jump head first or feet first into something when you don't really know where you are, what you want to do, and you're kind of just bulldozing your way through it. Start with what you have. If you have 1 or 2 journals, or hell, if you have 8 journals, that's fine. It doesn't really matter how many you have. Even if you have none, it's okay. So let's say, for this instance, you're one of these people who have not gotten into journaling and you want to get into journaling and you want to create an ecosystem. Well, what you might want to start with is trying the different types of journal methods that they're out there. So I mean bullet journaling, creative journaling, junk journaling, daily journaling, morning pages, art journaling, whatever the case, K-pop, anime. There's so many types of journals out there. Now, you may think this sounds like a waste of paper, but I'm going to give you a little tip. if you have a dollar store near you, you can buy one of these little cheap journals. So I got this one from Dollar Tree, and it's just their regular little blank notebook, and I use it for anything and everything. But it's just blank paper, and you can use one journal to try out a bunch of different journal styles. So try out the creative journal, try out the junk journal, try out the K-pop or anime journal, try out media journals, which are like you combining your movies, TV shows you watch. Try them all out in this one booklet. Okay, just try them all. Don't disguise the limit. Anything that interests you, just try it out. And after you've done it for a couple of weeks, they say 21 days to make a habit, but if you don't want to do 21 days, you don't have to. So maybe after a couple of weeks of you doing this consistently, you'll find yourself kind of going towards a certain one out of all of them. So for example, I've used this as an example all the time, but I used to K-pop journal a lot. And in the beginning, when I was super into getting into new groups, I really loved K-pop journaling. I have not gotten into a new group in years. I don't remember the last group I like super stand. So I moved away from K-pop journaling and I started doing anime journaling. When I wasn't really feeling that anymore, I was doing reading journals. I don't really do that anymore. So you will find that there are some things that really work for you and some things that do not. So just try them all. And then when you have collected a couple that you really enjoy, that bring you happiness, that feels really great, put that to the side. So this is for people who already have 2 or more journals. You already have maybe a daily journal, a morning page journal, maybe a gratitude journal, K-pop, bullet, whatever your journals are, whatever your planners are. You already have 2 or more. If that's the case, then what we're going to do is we're going to organize them based on how often you use them. Now, we're not doing this because you're going to all of a sudden say, oh, I only use this one once a month, so I can't put this in my system. That's not what we're doing. Just hear me out and put them in order of how you use them. So for example, if you have a daily journal that you use every day, nonstop, then that'll be in one category. Let's say you junk journal and your junk journal gets used weekly, put that in a category. Let's say you do a media journal and your media journal you do weekly, then you put it in the weekly bunch with the junk journal. However often or not often you do them, categorize them into that. You don't have to do them physically. You can like maybe write down on a piece of paper how often you do one or the other and leave that to the side. Okay, now that you've done that for all your journals, and I mean all of them, even the ones you may not use anymore, just separate them all into anything, even ones that you have not used in years. Separate them all, because listen, if you're like me, you may have a billion journals. So now that you've separated them all into categories, I want you to take out of each category ones that you use at minimum monthly. And you might be thinking, at minimum monthly? But there is a method to my madness. Normally, if we don't journal at least once a month, or even, listen, there have been months I have not journaled at all, but if there is not a journal that you have picked up this year, then put it to the side. It's not a journal that needs to be in your ecosystem, because more than likely you probably really don't want to use it, or you just use it for special occasions, which means it's not necessarily going to go in your ecosystem because it's not being used constantly. And by constantly, I don't mean that you have to use these every day, every week, every month. But what I mean is, if it's a journal that you haven't used in a year or 2 years, then chances are you kind of put it to the side. Or maybe it's a specific journal. Maybe it's a scrapbook for your kids, or a scrapbook for your, I don't know, maybe it's a coffee journal, maybe it's a travel journal and you haven't traveled in a year or 2. Put those at the side and only grab ones that you use either daily, weekly, or monthly. That's it. Now here's another part of this I think is really important, and that is, you may have 3 journals, you may have 10 journals, you may have 12 journals. I don't know your life, okay? If you find that the journal system is too big or too small, you can either add or subtract. You can add more journals. You can go back to the method that I did for people who have not started journaling yet and add a new method, add a bullet journal, add a K-pop journal, add a media journal if you want to. Or on the other hand, if you have journals that are too many, like maybe it's just too much for you to have all these journals, reduce them. Even though you use one daily, maybe it's not fitting where you are right now. Put that one away with the ones that you don't really use that much, that aren't going to be a part of your ecosystem. Because I do think that some people have different ideas of what they want an ecosystem to be. Some people think anything more than 3 is far too much. Some people only want 1 journal and don't want to go any further than that, which is totally fine. So if it's too little, add more. If it's way too many, try to either subtract them or combine them. So let's say you do morning pages, but you also have a daily journal. Maybe put them together. So let's say your morning pages are in an A5 and you have, I don't know, a passport size daily journal. Those can actually work kind of similarly together. Your morning pages can be anything and your daily journal can be anything. So what might be helpful is to take the passport size and put that away and do everything in that one journal. Now you don't have an extra one doing kind of similar things as the morning pages in a daily journal. But this is just kind of a tip to kind of help if you feel a little overwhelmed or underwhelmed, like maybe you think you can do more or you can organize more, then you can add to it. Or if you think that you're overwhelmed and it's too much, you can kind of downsize. For example, I used to have a separate K-pop journal and anime journal, and at one point I was like, why am I doing this? They're all gonna be in the same one. They are different avenues and completely different countries, but I was using 2 different journals and they weren't getting used all that often because I would K-pop journal here and there when I was feeling it, and I would anime journal whenever I would watch a new anime. And at one point in college, I wasn't doing either. I wasn't getting into new groups. I wasn't watching new animes. And so I was like, I have these 2 journals that I have no use for because I'm not doing this content. So if you kind of combine them, you have more to do. So if there was a comeback for GOT7 or BTS or Monster X, then I could do it in this journal. And then maybe the next month there is no comeback, but there's like 3 animes I've been watching, then I can do it in that one as well. So that's just a tip for if you are trying to either upgrade or downgrade your ecosystem. And now you probably have a bunch of journals or maybe a few journals that you can keep in your ecosystem. So now that you've done that, now that you have gotten these journals that you technically have an ecosystem for, you use on a pretty constant basis, we need to form a habit about using them. And you know, like I said earlier, people say 21 days to make a habit, but I have a kind of a controversial thought. I don't think habits work one way, and I don't think everything is great for everybody because everyone's circumstance is different. My mom used to say 21 days to make a habit all the time, and it worked for her because it was in 21 days, because she's so strict on herself, she could get things done. Girl, I got generalized anxiety disorder. That does not work. For example, I would say, okay, Troy, 21 days to make a habit. We're gonna, for 21 days, we're going to get in the habit of reading 1 hour, 3 days straight. That's it. You're not going to go over that. Because I went through a reading slump and it was really, really bad. I did it for 21 days. And then on the 22nd day, do you know what happened? Do you know what happened? I fell off. I didn't do it. I was just like, this is not working. This does not work for me. What am I doing wrong? 21 days to make a habit. But listen, I don't have a lot of self-discipline with a lot of things. So that was not working for me. My mom's discipline is really good, especially because she's just a disciplined person and it works well for her. But I am not. Listen, you know how on TikTok they have those kids who are like, you put a cookie in front of them and you say, don't eat the cookie. I'll be right back. Okay, mommy's gonna be right back. Don't eat the cookie. I'm almost 30. I would have eaten that cookie because I ain't got no discipline. I ain't got no type of motivation to discipline myself. So habits are formed by you and only you. Only you can figure out how a habit works for you. A specific version of this would be, for example, I like to journal at night. I can journal during the day, but honestly, my prime time of journaling is I want it to be night. I want to have my little desk lamp on, all my pretty fake candles on, and then I'm gonna have my fan on to get me all cool. And I'm sitting right here and there's no cameras and I'm just chilling and journaling, listening to music, listening to an audiobook, having a good night. That is when I'm at my journaling prime. You may be an early sleeper, okay? You may not be a night owl like me. You may not be up at 4 in the morning. You may have to go to sleep and get up at 6 a.m. to go to work. That may not work for you. So setting a time that is really nice, and I've said this in a bunch of my other videos, but setting a time period that's really nice for you to journal. If you're an early riser and you like to journal in the morning, set that time away. Maybe that can really help you. Other people may only journal when they have the urge to. Maybe you have a planner that you use daily, but then you have a morning pages and you kind of like wish-wash around with the morning pages thing, and instead of doing it every morning, you do it every other morning. Maybe that works for them. So building a habit kind of comes organically, and it doesn't really happen overnight. You don't just form a habit because you want to do it. I mean, okay, granted, yes you do, but just because you want something doesn't always mean it's going to come to fruition. Doesn't always mean that you have the tools to do it. So instead of focusing on how consistent you are, how much you're doing it, if you're doing it like me or like your friend or like someone else online, focus on doing it however it works for you, organically for you. If the most you can do is when your kids are sitting down eating cereal, you can get a few pages in, do it then. If you only can do it when your husband's asleep, do it then. The habit is yours to make, but it has to be organic. So the more you journal, the more you make journaling the habit, just journaling, not the time, not the place, not the supplies, journaling itself, the habit, no matter what type of journaling it is, the more you will feel like, oh, I'm sensing a pattern here. I didn't wake up one day and said, I'm just gonna journal at night. It just randomly at night, I would be like, I'm so anxious, but you know what would help me? I'm going to make some hot tea, I'm gonna make a little bit of coffee, and I'm gonna sit down and I'm gonna journal. And that always makes my nights so much better. So the more you journal, the more, take a shot every time I say organic. Organically, this will come out. And my last tip is don't stick to a system just because your mind tells you you have to. And you might be wondering what I mean by that. And basically what I'm trying to say is, for example, okay, an ecosystem grows around its environment. Okay, let's do a real world ecosystem example, like a real biological ecosystem. Okay, you know how fish talk will be like under the comments of somebody getting a betta fish, and the betta fish will be in like some little tiny fair fish tank, and they're just like, it cannot survive in there. Okay, why can't the betta survive in there? Because it's too small. Okay, it's not big enough. It's not helpful to the betta fish to be in this little fish bowl. It's not for most fish, but whatever. So that fish is going to live by its surroundings. If it's in this closed little space that does not work for it, what's the betta going to do? It's going to lose its color. They're not going to want to eat, and they may die. So when we think about environment, we're going to think about it in a literal way. If your journal system is your planner, is your traveler's notebook, is your coffee journal, is your media journal, and you've been using this system consistently for months, maybe even years, and then one day you realize, I haven't picked up the media journal in forever. I haven't picked up my planner in forever. It's time to move it around. It's time to change our environment. It's time to change our system. The network can only work if they work for you. Your network is yours. You should be adapting your system to your life. Maybe a media journal doesn't work anymore because you don't consume as much media. Honestly, for me, a media journal would have been A1 back in high school because my dad used to force us to go see movies with him every weekend. It was a lie, but now I look back at it and I'm just like, man, I wish I would have had a media journal back then to talk about my feelings of each of those movies, because back in the day, girl, back in the day, from middle school to high school, we went to go see movie after movie after movie after movie. Girl, today, I don't think I've been to the movie theaters in like a year. And I think the only reason I went last year was because my nephew was here and he wanted to go see Trolls, maybe? I don't know what it was. It was some movie. But I couldn't do that today. And if I tried, I did try to do a media journal last year, and I was like, girl, what are you doing? You don't watch this much media. All you do all day is watch movies, read books, and play Dreamlight Valley. You cannot make this. Like, how often are you going to do this? Like, every so often when you get in the mood to watch a C-drama? Like, be for real. And I'm so tired of the journal community making people feel bad about planner hopping, journal hopping. It's okay to outgrow a planner. It's okay to outgrow a journal. It's okay to try something, it not work, and you move on. It is not that big of a deal. I watch this one girl on YouTube who planner hops a lot, and they always get a comment going, you're planner hopping again? You must be rich. I'm just like, so not only are you pocket watching, homegirl, but you also mad that she realized that this planner wasn't working for her? Get a life, okay? Get a life. Don't let anybody make you think that you can't outgrow something. You can outgrow a pair of shoes just as much as you can outgrow a journal, okay? You can outgrow anything. You can outgrow hobbies. Maybe at one point you really, really loved reading. Maybe now you don't really like it as much. Maybe you don't really want to read as many books as you used to. Maybe you do want to read, but you outgrew a specific trope. Maybe you don't want fake dating. Maybe you don't want enemies to lovers. Maybe you're more into second chance romance, or you're more into one bed or something. I don't know. What I'm trying to say is that it's okay to try new things, even if you already have a system that is working. Sometimes my system works and I'm like, I kind of want to try this out because I saw someone do this and it seems really helpful, and I try it out and maybe it works. Maybe it replaces one of my other journals, or maybe it doesn't. It is okay. Don't let yourself watch social media and all of a sudden think that you have to do something. Sometimes you got to take a few steps back and ask yourself, is social media helping you or hurting you? I actually have a whole video about this. I'll leave it linked at the end, but all I wanted to say. Because darling, you don't need anyone's permission to make your own safe space, make your own system that works for you. And I know someone's gonna watch this and be like, girl, this is a journal. relax. But no, let me tell you something. This right here, this little system right here brings me so much joy. It calms me down when I'm anxious. I pop this little baby open and I write to my heart's content. Okay, so I hope these kind of helped you out. If they did, tell me below. If you want more videos like this, also tell me, because I kind of enjoy these type of videos and then I kind of don't. Like, I'm a yapper. I hate that word a little bit. I'm not gonna lie, I kind of hate that word. I talk a lot, so I can get very sidetracked, but I try my best to make these videos understandable. So I'm not a teacher for a reason, okay? Girl, that's not for me. But if you enjoyed this video, go check out some of my other videos and I will see you guys in the next one. Peace out, Girl Scouts.
'Cause I really hate you, 'cause you made me so blue.